Outer Orange.
Welcome back to yet another deck profile. This is D. We're going to talk today about a deck that's pretty under the water right now. No one really talks about it, and it's just really good, and I think people should try it. The upgrade isn't super insane on it. If you played the deck in the past, now's a good time to upgrade it for not too much money as well, so it's a really good deck for even under budget reasons. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Before that, you see this beautiful playmat right here, right? You see it. It's waifu material. This is Night Rose. In case you want this kind of playmat, Zero Damage Gaming is currently doing a lot of these. There's a legacy give out right now. It's only for this month exactly. You can use my code ORANGE, get yourself a playmat, save yourself some money, and get yourself a playmat that is limited time. You will not be able to get this again, so get them while you can. And in case you don't want waifu, also get husbando. You can get homie husbando right here. Here he is. I'm not showing him properly on camera because my camera for some reason is being very mean to him right now, but here is Zorga as well. Get yourself playmat, amazing art, good stuff. Code ORANGE. And then if you need cards, like I said, as always, 50card.shop. Get your stuff, use code ORANGE for that as well. Save yourself some money. We're going to be talking about ORFIST today. This is ORFIST, my boy, my homie. I love this deck so much. Before that, I have my deck box here. This is a REM deck box. I think I've kept ORFIST in this deck this entire time. This is ReZero. Noman gave me this, and I, for some reason, actually really love it. I think part of it is because it was like just a really random present he just kind of threw at me with a couple other stuff that he got me, which is really sweet of him. And then for the sleeves, we are using the Neonectar Girl. I don't know why I'm using these sleeves. I just really like the color green, and so I've just been using them. And then Ride deck sleeves we're using, this is Nanaha. I love Nanaha with a burning passion, and I recently got these, so I went ahead and sleeved them up. But let's go ahead and talk about the deck profile. Alright, we're going to start with the ride line. Your zero does not matter. You can run whatever you want. Does not matter. So if you're feeling spicy, you know, do your thing, run your spicy starter. So next we have, this is Rotis. So this is Rotis right here. This is the grade 1 Cardinal Rotis. So his skill pretty much is on place, search for an order. You're specifically running like, I forget what these orders are called. Holy crap. These are called set order worlds. So you're searching for your set order worlds. We'll kind of get into like a big topic about which ones to grab and sort of what approach to go for. There's a 3 or 2 and 2 2s you can kind of look for. So we'll get to that. But you're just grabbing an order. Very good stuff. Next we go into a Cubisaya. Some run Combine Rusher in this slot. I'm not a fan. This deck actually requires quite a bit of CB, and I feel like the Combine Rusher can be kind of hit or miss, but I can understand it. Sometimes you don't have units, and Combine Rusher fixes that, so you can run Combine Rusher in the slot if you really want to, or you can run this for a little bit of an early rush, but honestly, the early rush is kind of dead, so maybe Combine Rusher is the play. I guess we'll see, but Combine Rusher can be in the slot if you really want to be. But anyway, this one just says if you play an order, it gets 5k, so you can just apply with a 15k power pressure. If you happen to hit Thumperino and a couple other good early cards, you can really apply pressure with this 5k. It actually does matter sometimes. And last but not least, we of course run the new the new ORFIST, not the old one. This is ORFIST Regis. There's another ORFIST you can run. That ORFIST is honestly a little bit power capped right now. Unlike Zorga, where you can kind of pick and choose which one you want. In this specific situation, I think this one's just a better option in every way, and maybe something will change in the future, but currently for set 6 and probably for the next upcoming sets, this is probably the better route. I don't know if set 7 changes set too much. I don't think it will, because they kind of got like the card they needed, but yeah, this is ORFIST. His skill literally just says, when placed, you can just play an order for free from drop or hand, so you just freely play an order. Freaking amazing. Really helps with the, you know, resource issues. So you can play any of your orders for free. You can draw, you know, get some tokens out, all this kind of fun stuff. And then it says on attack, when he attacks, you can counterblast, discard a card, and you call a token, which is these lovely cards. You call a token for every 2 orders, and then he gets 5k for every 2 orders that is in your order zone. So ideally, you just call a ton of these out, and you multi-attack. So you usually want to like get 2 of these out. On your rear, you usually want to do something like this. This is like perfect setup, right? When you attack. Of course, on first turn, you'll only get 1 token out. However, we have a new card that will get you another token out, which is very beautiful. The extra power is actually really nice, and this deck is one of those decks where it just gets stronger and stronger as the later the game goes. The numbers just get more obscene. Personas get faster. There comes a point where you're just calling tokens everywhere. It just gets so insane, and this card does it. So the multi-attack is just really good. It makes the deck so much better, and that's pretty much the Regis. So let's go ahead and talk about our 3s. Of course, you want to run Persona OP, especially in this deck where it literally says when you ride, you do stuff. So you definitely want to see these ASAP. You want to play very carefully to where you can at least see 1 Persona a game. You at least want to see 1. 1, you know, 2 is not as important, but you need to at least see 1, especially if you're on Second or something. Obviously, 1 Persona as much, but you really want to see this card. You can set up with it too for your orders and your drops and all this kind of stuff. It just amplifies and speeds up your process so much faster. Numbers get bigger. Under Persona, it's pretty much usually a GG. Your opponent can't guard everything. Numbers get super high. Last but not least, at least for the 3s, let's go ahead and talk about this new card. This is Cardinal Dragon. Goodness, these names. Neoria. So this is a new card. It dropped in set 6. And I talked about this card quite a bit back. And God, this card is just so good. When I first read this card, I didn't really realize just all the applications it had on it until I realized all its applications on it. So its first skill, it just gets 2k for every order in your order zone. This does get pretty large. Like the minute you have like 4, it becomes an AK 21, Persona 31. You have like 5, now it's getting 10k. It just gets, again, the later the game goes, the stronger the deck gets, right? So this card follows that exact same procedure. Now it has a second skill. When it is retired, or if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, you may call it army token. Now keep in mind, this does apply to when your opponent retires too. It just pretty much says when it's retired from your guard circle, you get the effect to get a token out. So if your opponent targets this, you actually get a free token out as well. When you call a token over it like this, you actually get another token out, which is where this skill comes to hand. So you can swing with this first and then call a token on it and then get another token out as well, which is super important. So this card is very versatile. This card did one bad thing that I don't like, and that it killed the grade 2 game. Because you have to run this over the old grade 2s we used to run, you don't have a grade 2 game. You have to wait until your turn 3 to pretty much do something, and that kind of sucks sometimes, because sometimes you want to apply the early pressure and then go into ORFIST and finish the game, and you literally can't because you have to play these cards. Unfortunately, this card is so good that you have to play it, but it did slow down the grade 2 turn, which means that your grade 2 turn just isn't as great now. But we do have some cards that kind of help. So that's our grade 3s. Let's go into our 2s. The 2s are actually very small. It's just 4 penguin. Aiding monster technician or techian or something like that. You know, people just call it penguin. Now this card's amazing. This card says when it's discarded during your turn, you can top 5 for an order and put it to hand. So this is important. When you're discarding for Ride-On, you can use it. When you're discarding for ORFIST skill, you can use it. You can like plus really hard on turn 1. On turn 1, when you discard for this guy, to ride him, you can actually discard the penguin, do the search first, and then use his skill to then search for another order, which means you're getting 2 orders to hand. And then on top of that, if you're especially going second, you draw an extra card. So it's actually very nice. This card comes super in handy. Sometimes it can be a little rearguard poker too if you really want to use it for discard, but it's really nice. It pretty much helps you deck thin your orders out, and it's kind of high roll, but it's nice. It does the job, and it's really good. So we run it at 4. We're gonna talk about Best Girl here. So this is Stumberino. So I used to run this card at less, and then I found out that that's just not the play. I feel like you actually kind of have to run this at 4. I used to cut back. I used to run the grade 2s, the ones that retire, like point specific retires and stuff like that. I used to run like 2 of these and 2 of that card, and then I found out that this is just better. Unfortunately, if you open this early and you go into one of the orders, which gets you a token, this is just nuts. Her skills literally just says when she boosts a token, you can activate the skill. She gets 15k to a token, and then you retire both cards, including herself, and you draw a card. That's all she does. However, that 15k is massive. At 50k, okay, so normally when she boosts a token, it's like 23. This makes a 38 with a 15k. 38 is insanely freaking high, especially if you do this on turn 2. Turn 2, that's insanely high. And then if you're doing this on ORFIST turn, that's huge. And then you draw a card too. And then you deny your opponent from doing stupid stuff. So if you're playing Gravidia, you don't have a board, you can't really do anything. Prison, you don't have a board, they can't really do anything. There's just all these little things that the card provides that's just really good. The downside is that you have to drop 2 for that draw. The upside is everything else. And you generate tokens fast enough to where it's not a big deal, but it can be. But I found that this card is just better to see than not to see, and the more the merrier type of approach. Next I run Boba Mine. Can put something else here. I found that the counter charge is important, so I kept it. Also, it replaces itself by putting itself into Soul. So you know you won't have the board, you won't have it on the board, which is good. Sometimes people will try to deny if you call out stuff, they will try to deny. You can replace this card, but I've been running it at 2 and it's been perfectly fine at 2. You can change it up for something else. You can run those 2 cards that I told you, the grade 2s, if you're that little extra grade 2 game if you want. But if it's on the board, they can swing into it, and if they can swing into it, they can deny you your ORFIST turn. If most people are aware of how ORFIST plays, they know you have a counterblast that you have to do in order to call tokens out. If they want to deny that, they can, and if they do that, then you are stuck. So having rear guards on the board on turn 2 is kind of rough unless you have Thumperino, which fixes that problem. So you have to be kind of careful with what you're doing with your 2s, what you're doing with cards on the board, because if they deny, they're usually playing it smart by denying, because denial is usually the right play. You only have 3 attacks now if you have any units and all that kind of stuff. And then of course we run perfect guards. I run 3 of the regular and 1 of the blitz order. Nothing too crazy here. Perfect guards. And then let's go ahead and talk about our actual orders. So we talked about all these cards that circulate on orders, but what do the actual orders do? So first we'll start with the 3s. I run 4 copies of Overcoming an Eternity. Looks like this. Has a very simple skill. It's just Soul Blast 2. Your tokens get 5k power when they're called. And then they do stack. So if you have all 4, your tokens are getting 20k power. If you have 2, they're getting 10k power. If you have 3, they're getting 50k power, so on and so forth. So, well, why is this important? It makes your tokens huge. ORFIST straight up calls a token, and then the grade 3 gets you another one. So those 2 that are called that turn are now gaining additional power. So if you high roll into these early on, you can have like massive pressure. The numbers get so big, you don't even need persona pen numbers at some point. It's just really nice. That's pretty much all they do. They're just raw power. You want to run 4 because you do want to see at least 2 of these, and sometimes you'll see more, sometimes you'll see less, but you know, you want to see these as fast as possible. Next, we run the Eclipsed Moonlight. This is the one I was talking about that you can play on turn 2 usually. You can Counter Blast, call a token, then you call Thumbbrino back behind it, and then you can sack it, right? So that's pretty much what this does. I used to run this at 1, and I ran the draw one, which is this one, at more, and then I changed it because I found that this can be very useful. It's a free unit to the board. Some people that just give you Counter Blast will just give it to you. That's cool. You can just utilize this. You could also like drop this into your drop. Like you can have one early on. They could drop another one in your drop, and then you could use his skill to, you know, make one be free. Reason why I ran this at less was because of the CB. But then one of my friends played my deck actually one of the weekends that I played, and he kind of utilized it pretty well to where the Counter Blast just didn't matter. So it's pretty good. So I'm put it back to 2, and then I run 3 copies of Howling Moonlight. I'm sorry, Moonlit Night. So this is just a last draw card. These are like your order setup cards. So these are the cards you want to see. You want to see as many of these as possible. You want to use them as much as possible as you can. ORFIST lets you use 2 a turn pretty much. So, you know, you can Sub Blast, give token power. You can Sub Blast, Counter Blast, do this. So you have a lot of options. And like I said, ORFIST plays 1 order for free. Ideally, you want to play this one for free because it's the most expensive one. It'll be between these 2 depending on your situation. If you can afford the Counter Blast, you can go for this. If you have Bone Mine especially, you don't really care. Ideally, it would be between these 2 depending on situation. I don't run that new promo that I was complaining that we didn't get. I just found out that there just isn't space. She's a good card. I found that there just isn't space in the deck for her. It's not that she's a bad card. It's just that the deck space is really tight. So, but you can run her. You can maybe replace Thumbbrino with her. You're gonna have to replace good cards for good cards. You can maybe replace Boba Mine for her. You know, up to you what you want to do. I'm not really a fan of the blind soul charging. I'm not gonna lie. The only reason I liked her so much was because she revived. She gave you tokens, which before the grade 3 drop, before this dropped, you really needed them. But now with the grade 3 being a thing, you don't need the promo as much. I feel like prior to set 6, she was way more useful, and I feel like now she's kind of falling off. But that's our orders. Notice I'm run 9. I think 9 is a really good spot. Some run more, some run less. I think 9 is like right in the middle. You really need these. You really need all 3 of these cards. If you could run 4 of each, that'd be great, but that's way too much, and the deck does need other cards, so you don't really want to go too heavy. But I think 9 is a good spot. Usually people run like 7, 8 or so. Some run 10. I like 9. 9 has been really nice to me. It's been really nice. I haven't bricked too much with it. All that kind of stuff. Let's talk about triggers. Here we have obviously the over trigger. Specifically in Brandgate, this OT is actually just insane. In ORFIST, any of the Brandgate decks, if you check this, it's usually a win, especially in a deck that multi-attack. Trying to think of all the Brandgate decks off the top of my head. We have Prison, who does a multi-attack. We have Ava that semi-multi-attacks depending on your situation. Usually it's 4 attacks, right? So, and then we have this deck which can attack 5 times when the minute rides up now. OT makes the deck just, and there's Gravidia. Gravidia doesn't have multi-attack, but she has semi-multi-attack. There's like an awkward card you can run that can kind of get you a 4th attack, but it's really awkward. But anyway, OT is just insane, and checking it, this OT specifically is just so borderline busted that it's just game. Under ORFIST, this is insanely high. Your tokens will be huge. Your tokens are usually between the ranges of 30 and 70. If you check this, they're now like between the ranges of 60 and 120 or 140. So this gets like really insane, right? So this OT especially is just really bonkers. It makes the token game just so much better. I know I went on a whole rant about it. This OT specifically is just checking this over the rest of the OTs just doesn't feel as insane. Like this one, especially if you check this on like turn 2 and you have like a Thumbbrino, a token or something out, it's like, okay. That's actually why I like the grade 2 game, because you can swing with Van first and then check OT and it kind of win the game. I'm not even gonna lie, I've done that a lot of times under ORFIST, but I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing to talk about. I am running the counter heals. I'm probably gonna take them out, put vanillas back in. Not 100% yet, but you know, I'm running 2-2 split right now. It's been fine either way, whatever floats your boats. And then we're running pretty much 4-7 crits now. These crits right here, the ones that go into soul, they don't really matter. If you're having like money issues or anything like that and you're having trouble like getting these, you really don't need them in this deck. I just run 2 just because I felt like running 2. I wanted my full trigger lineup to be SP'd, so I said screw it, I'll just throw these in. But you really don't need them. You can honestly run vanillas and you'll be perfectly fine. So just something to keep in mind, you do not need those particular cards. They can maybe maybe help you, but ORFIST hand is so bad. Most of the time you never want to call these out. Like if you're calling these out, you're kind of screwing yourself. I don't recommend it unless you're going for like final turn or something, right? So, but ideally you don't really want to call them out, but just saying. But anyway, around 2 because I don't know, I feel like it. I think 5Ks are still more important. You can put one behind Vanguard, make the number super obnoxious. And last but not least, I went 4 draw. This deck really needs draw. You cannot run less than 4. You can even maybe squeeze in the 5th one if you really need it. The deck has to discard every single turn on grade 3 turn. It can be very painful, especially in a deck that runs orders, which are these, which are shieldless. This one replaces itself, but still, like, it can be very costly, very fast. You really need the draws. This deck in specific really needs them. They also feel super nice to check, as always, because in D, for some reason, draws just feel amazing to check. I never thought I'd be the kind of person that would appreciate draws as much as I do now, because I used to despise draws. God, I hated draws. But anyway, that's the deck. Deck plays really well, honestly. Like I said, the later the game lasts, the higher chance you are of winning. If your opponent like if the game slows down at any given point, like you heal a lot or OT gets checked in a certain way, you know, whatever happens will increase the chances of you winning the game just because of how much this deck scales. It comes to a point where it becomes Grand Blue almost, where the numbers get so big that your opponent just can't guard them. They just can't they cannot guard 50k columns like 3, 4, 5 times, right? They just can't do it. But that, guys, that's my deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I'm a little late on the ORFIST stuff. I promised Dan that I'll get a profile out. Dan, I'm sorry it took me so long. I hope this helps you in your ORFIST journeys. I know you love ORFIST, so I hope it helps you while you're hunting, while you're trying to figure out what deck to play for D and all that kind of fun stuff. So on that, guys, I'm gonna head out now. So peace out. But I'll see you guys in a future video. And if you have any comments or concerns or anything you play in your ORFIST deck, or if you've been doing well with your ORFIST deck, please feel free to leave it below. And again, don't forget, 50 cards and 0 damage. Use my code ORANGE for your shopping experiences. Christmas is right around the corner. It's a perfect time to get stuff, so go do that. Anyway, bye. Bye.